What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cullen's Music Corner. I'm Cullen the Great. Today we are going to be talking about one of the most resilient artists in the industry, Ariana Grande, and her newest project, Positions. One of the most resilient musicians in the game. She has found herself in the headlines of papers for tragic news on more than one occasion, which is something that no musician should have to go through, especially at such a young age. I know a couple years ago, we all remember the terrorist attack at one of her concerts. I believe she was in England when that happened. A couple years later, her ex-boyfriend, Mac Miller, overdosed, and then she had a very public, very ugly breakup with her fiance at the time, Pete Davidson. So she had just found herself in a nonstop string of unfortunate events. She is such a resilient artist at the way she was able to take those challenges head on, face them with adversity, and come out better because of them. And this album, I think, is a perfect example of what she has gone through and where she is now. Her last album, I believe, Thank You Next, kind of came out shortly after the death of Mac Miller and was in sort a mournful response to that. This album, Positions, is a lot more lighthearted. It's a lot more playful. She describes it as a flirtatious wave from the other side, kind of signaling like, I see you over there struggling and I'm over here doing good. So this album, I think, embodies that perfectly. This album overall was just really good. She did a very, very, very good job of mixing it up from song to song. A lot of times in pop albums, that's one of the biggest struggles. One of the biggest things that I hear is that every song sort of sounds the same when it comes to the instrumentals and the beats. She does a very good job of mixing it up. Each song sounds different. It's not the same. You have a few tracks in there which sound kind of similar to one another, but they're different enough to notice the difference. So I think she did an incredible job on that. It's described as a pop album, but I had a ton of R&B influence on here, and even a few songs that had sort of a soul kind of vibe to them. With songs like My Hair, just the instruments and the way she delivered the lyrics make it sound kind of like a more soulful song rather than such a poppy R&B kind of vibe. You have songs that are a lot more bouncy that kind of fit into that pop genre, that pop niche a little bit more, where they're just more bouncy, they're catchy, there's something you'd hear on the radio. And then you have songs that have a little bit more of a darker vibe to them, a little bit more of a I'm kind of a bad bitch vibe to them than such a goody two-shoes pop vibe. In this album, Ariana Grande was very, very good at humanizing herself with the listener. So even though she does describe it as a flirtatious wave from the other side, a lot of the lyrics have a deeper meaning to them, and it's stuff that she's experienced in her life, and it's stuff that everybody experiences. The loss of a loved one, the ability to never have somebody back again. She does a really good job of humanizing herself to relate with the listener, so that way when people like me are listening to the song, it resonates a lot more with us. It shows that she is just a person. She is a musician, but she's an everyday human like you and me. And in this album, she does an incredible job of humanizing herself for the listener. You have songs like POV and Off the Table, which are just insights into her life, insights into her emotions and how she's feeling, which kind of show the human side of the pop star Ariana Grande. Now, as much of a good project, as much of a good album as this was, I do have to say one of my biggest critiques is it was not very creative when it came to trying to differentiate herself from other pop musicians. Like I said, the song did have sort of an R&B kind of vibe to it, so I guess you can say that that's the different part of it. There was really no song in there with the exception of My Hair and maybe the ending to Love Language, that little outro right there, but there was no song in the album that really took a creative step up and kind of was it like an experimental track. So it's a good and a bad thing. There wasn't anything that was real experimental, real creative on here. It was just kind of the same old Ariana Grande, but in a different light each song. So I think that's one of my biggest critiques with this album, is that yes, it was different. Yes, the beats were good. Yes, it was all kind of a totally different vibe. However, there was kind of a lack of creativity in certain aspects of the album, in my opinion. It was a shorter album. It was only 40 minutes and it was about 14 songs. So the songs themselves are fairly short. She only got 3 features on this album, and they are some pretty big name features. You have people like The Weeknd, Ty Dolla $ign, and Doja Cat on here. She's stuck with the same group of writers that she has worked with for a long time, and I think that they work very well together. The songs that she writes sound very good. She's very great at executing the vision for those songs. And in this album, she does a great job of showing off her vocal range. I actually did not realize how high she was able to sing. There's a few songs, I think at the ending of Safety Net, I could be wrong on that, but she hit some ridiculous notes that I didn't even know she could hit. So she does an incredible job of showing off her vocal range, kind of showing off her repertoire and showing people what she's got, you know? When it came down to the features on the album, they were okay. The Weeknd was, in my opinion, the best one off of the album. I think that their back and forth at the end of the song just sounded beautiful together. I think he did a really good job in his verse. Ty Dolla $ign was okay. They had a little back and forth at the end of their song as well, which sounded good. However, I'm going to get some heat for this, but I did not like the Doja Cat song. I just really did not like her flow in that track. She's got some pretty good lyrics, great lyricism in there. I know she's an up-and-coming musician, but I just did not like her attitude, her delivery in that song. That's kind of the weakest link when it came to the features for me, but they're all a solid list of features. I do like how she only had a few on there. I know a lot of albums nowadays, half of the songs on the albums are all features, and I think that kind of takes away from the whole purpose of an album, is you're trying to tell a story, you're coming up with the theme, describing the album. You know, it's kind of funny for me to see Ariana Grande being such the superstar that she is with the music that she's making. I still remember seeing Ariana Grande and having the fattest crush on her in Victorious, and then now to see her making all these moves and, you know, unfortunately being in the headlines for such tragedies, it's crazy to me to see how much she has grown since playing that goofy, silly character on a kids' TV show. She is really, really good at promoting positive messages. In this song, I believe 34 or 35, she talks about drinking coffee, being more healthy as a person. And then in the same sense, you have that positive role model. You get a little bit of that bad bitch in there when you go into the hook of that song. I think that 34 plus 35, don't know the meaning of it, but I think it is the perfect representation for the artist that Ariana Grande is today. It is a great role model, positive influence mixed with a little bit of that bad bitch in there. I think that just about does it for my album review of Ariana Grande's Positions. This was an overall very good album. There was not a bad song on here. I am going to give it an 8 out of 10, only for the fact that it was fairly short. There was a lack of creativity in there. However, she executed everything perfectly. There was an incredible mix-up between the beats in the songs. It wasn't like the same old delivery, flow, or lyrics over every song. She did a great job at kind of changing it up. So when it came down to it, Ariana killed it. This album was incredible, one of the best albums of the year. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. If you liked what you saw, go ahead, click that like, click that subscribe button. Let me know what you think of the Ariana Grande's newest album and how it relates to her last album, Thank You Next. Let me know down in the comments section below. And if you guys haven't had a chance, go and check out that new Cullen the Great every day, available on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Pandora, wherever the heck you listen to your music. Go check it out. And while you're at it, you might as well follow me on all of my social medias. You can check me out on Twitter at Cullen the Great _. You can find me on Instagram with my new Instagram handle, Cullen the Great _. And of course, Facebook and all of your streaming services under Cullen the Great. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. And until next time, peace.